the Expanding Your Search and Stopping for Directions podcast with Brent and Jodibailey. We are growing our circles of connections and knowledge together with encouraging conversations and positive communications. Today, Brent and Jodi welcome
the writer and star of the new movie Church People, Thor Ramsey.
And now, Brent and Jodibailey.
Hey everybody, welcome to Expanding Your Search and Stopping for Directions. It's Friday! Woo! Man, welcome to the show, everybody. It's going to be a great day today. We have got a full, and I mean full show for you. It's going to be awesome. I have got the writer, producer, and star of the brand new movie Church People. Thor Ramsey is going to be with us here in just a few minutes. That's right, folks. The God of Thunder is going to be here. No, he is really just an outstanding guy. We really love the movie. We got to watch it the other night, but we'll get to that in just a minute. Joining me over at the tech booth right now is Jodi and Presto. What's up over there? Yeah.
Yo. Hello.
All right, so listen, we got a lot to talk about today because, listen, if you got plans this weekend and they do Fathom events at the movie theaters, you need to go see Church People.
Yes.
It's a great Christian, faith-based film, but man alive, is it funny. So
it really is.
We're going to get to that in a few minutes. What's going on around the country today, Jodi?
Well, today is a lovely day for our food, and it is Baked Scallops Day. Okay, you like scallops. I'm not really a big fan of them. But
kind of like clams or those kind of, but I like them with curry and rice and so good.
Yeah. But our youngest son is allergic.
He is, really allergic.
Yeah.
So we don't do it that often.
No, we don't. And if we do, it's going to be other times when he's not at dinner with
us.
That's
right. But
Baked Scallops Day, and then we move forward to it's Girl Scout Day.
Oh, I thought you were going to say Girl Scout Cookie Day.
Well, you know what we can support your Girl Scouts. Support your Girl Scouts. If they are going around and they're selling cookies, by all means, buy those cookies.
Oh my gosh.
Buy those Thin Mints.
Did you see that they have it's either coffee or some other flavor of the Girl Scout cookies you can actually get in like coffee pods or something like that.
Something like that. I feel like I've seen ice cream.
Maybe that's what it was. It's ice cream. It is ice cream. Good call.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, so you can get the Thin Mints or the
it is Thin Mints.
The little what's the ones with the coconut?
That's tagalongs maybe. I think so. I think that's what they're called.
And the peanut butter ones. They have all the flavors of the Girl Scout cookies in ice cream now. So.
Yep.
Which one's your favorite Girl Scout cookie?
Drop below and tell us what is your favorite.
While you're sharing the podcast today, and let us know. All right. So, but the Girl Scouts, besides cookies, they're known for other things. Of course, they've raised generations of girls to teach them, how to be proper and etiquette, survive, and all kinds of other. Be prepared. That's the Boy Scouts, but
right.
Girl Scouts.
Well, I like the fact that it's Girl Scout Day, and it's also,
it's National Women's Month. Yeah.
And so it's, pretty cool that we have it, around the same time there. So, so support your Girl Scouts. Realize that they are trying to make a difference in this world. And,
of course they are.
Yeah, I wasn't in the Girl Scouts, but I think my sister might have been. So.
Jenny,
I think. I could be wrong. I know.
I'm going to say no on that. So, anyway, all right, moving on. Let's go on.
Plant a flower day. Oh. Go out there and plant a beautiful flower. Now, if you have an HOA, you might want to change.
Yeah, you better ask.
Check on that. So, because
if anybody's ever wondered what it's like to live in Nazi Germany, just have an HOA.
Exactly. Yeah.
Not all of them.
They're wonderful people.
And
it's a great system.
Motives are good. Some of them are. Some of them are a little control heavy.
Yeah, they are. Anyway. Sorry if you're in an HOA and we're talking about you. We're sorry. But anyway, plant a flower day. Make your garden or your landscaping look more colorful and pretty. I'm not a good gardener, so.
Well, listen, we got to cut it short because we have a full interview today with Thor Ramsey. So let's get to it. That's what's going on around the country. And now, we can expand your search. I'm so excited to be talking about the brand new movie that's coming out this weekend in select theaters across the country through Fathom Events. It's something called Church People. And folks, I had the pleasure of watching this movie on Tuesday, and I laughed so hard while I was screening this movie. It is a great film. It's the story of America's youth pastor finding his way back to the Lord, and as soon as he starts to do that, his church just decides they're going to lose all sense of normality for Easter, and he has to kind of navigate those waters while he's going through some personal issues himself. And the way the story's told, it is hilarious. So before we bring out our guest today, let's take a look at the trailer.
I told you if we broke attendance records, I'd get the church logo tattooed on my arm.
Skip, remember back when we first started? All we did was preach the gospel.
Ooh, Superman works. I like Superman. Guy, what do you think?
What happened to you?
Me? Your dad is the one with the gimmicks.
The power of the Holy Spirit propels us.
I just want the church to get back to the gospel.
Problem is you're trying to get your message across.
The gospel?
Right. And ain't nobody listening to that.
For Good Friday and Easter, I need something big. Amen?
Bigger than the resurrection.
Bigger than anything we've ever done. National headlines.
Preach on the death and resurrection of Jesus.
Plan. An actual crucifixion.
Uh-oh.
By placing the nails through your palms in the right place, we hope to avoid major nerve damage.
Operation Stop Skip is a go. That's awesome.
You have to cancel this Good Friday stunt.
Don't be so dramatic, honey. Ooh, I like the rusty ones.
What are you gonna do?
I told him he's insane. Been praying for you about that toe fungus. This could be beneficial for all parties involved.
We foster a yes environment here.
God wanted me to marry you and you could be my wife.
I have an answer for you.
So I'm so excited to have America's youth pastor, the star of the show, Thor Ramsey, with me today. He wrote Church People, and where he stars the lead character named Guy. He is a stand-up comedian. He has been on such things as Thou Shalt Laugh. He's also a pastor of a church. He became the host of a TV show called Bananas that was picked up by Sony Television, and he was watched by mostly 12-year-olds, but it was hilarious at the same time. He has produced some comedy series, including Comedy at Large with Thor Ramsey. He has been all over the place. You're going to recognize his face immediately. I'm so excited to have on the program today Thor Ramsey, everybody. Hey, Thor, thanks so much for
Good to
being
be
here.
with you. Thanks for having me.
Oh, man, I was first introduced to you on the Thou Shalt Laugh DVD. I was a youth pastor myself in those days at a megachurch, and we used to sell those. It was a fundraising thing that they did for some youth groups. So, welcome to the show. Thanks so much for coming and being with us today.
My pleasure.
I just want to say, first of all, great job. The movie is hilarious. And,
that's great to hear.
My wife and I laughed hysterically, especially, I don't want to give too much away, but China and Billy's scene is...
Oh, that's one of my favorite scenes, man. That is one of my favorite scenes.
You guys did a great job with that. I told Christopher the other day when he was on, I said, they could almost get their own spinoff movie. That was so funny. You did a great job with that one. That was hilarious. And the rest of the movie's great too. Before we get to that though, let's talk about you. How did you get started in your career?
Well, stand-up's just something I've always thought about. I always thought about doing, years ago. I was just talking to somebody this morning saying, I remember I was probably about 5 years old. I used to sneak out of bed and come downstairs, and my dad would be watching The Tonight Show with Johnny Carson. He would let me sit on his lap, and during the Tonight Show, they always brought out a stand-up comedian, and I didn't really understand what it was as a kid, but there was just this lone individual under the spotlight, and people were laughing, enjoying themselves, and I was attracted to that. So stand-up is just something that's always been on my radar, and eventually, when I was a senior in high school, I had a friend who came to me, and she said, I dreamt you were on The Tonight Show last night. And she goes, you had a good set. And then years later, I found myself as an operations supervisor of a trucking company. And I figured, if you're not going to follow your own dreams, you might as well follow somebody else's. So I eventually quit that job when they fired me, and found my way to a comedy club stage. And that's pretty much, that began my career as a stand-up.
I know so many folks, friends of mine that are in ministry that actually did do stand up as well, and it's amazing how those two things work hand in hand sometimes.
I've said before that most stand-up comedians are just preachers who haven't answered their call.
I could not agree with that statement anymore.
If you listen to Chris Rock, he's preaching.
He is.
It might be a different gospel, but he's preaching.
It's so true. It's so true. Now, you also pastor a church as well, right?
I do now, yeah. I'm a church planter. So we've been we're 5 years old, but it's almost like year one again with COVID. So It's like rebooting. So all that to say, I have a real heart for the subject matter of this movie, of course, which is the church and the gospel.
Yeah. So let's get into it. The question that Christopher told me to ask you was, how did this whole thing start?
How this whole thing
with church people?
Yeah, so you go back to because this is about, as every movie is, it's 10 years in the making. But you go back to about 2008. I had written a couple of screenplays that were comedies, just straight, general market comedies, and I was working on a screenplay. I just started a screenplay called Youth Group, which is what Church People became, about a youth pastor in crisis. And I had about 30 pages of it. And I was monitoring independent movies because I just wanted to get the movie made, so I was, monitoring independent features. And Jon Favreau, whom people might know from, he's the writer and creator of The Mandalorian, and then
Iron Man, Friends. He's done all kinds of things.
He's also an actor. Yeah, he plays Happy in Iron Man. He played Rudy's big frumpy friend in the movie Rudy. But in about 2008, he wrote and directed and starred in a movie called Swingers.
Yep.
Which is about a guy whose girlfriend dumps him, and then it's about his buddies trying to help him get over it. And it was it was only made for $200,000, and it made like $4 million at the box office. But that movie, I liked the tone of that movie, so I tried to take that tone, and that was the model I was using in terms of the tone when I started writing Youth Group. And then this is back when I had a career I cared about. I had a meeting with Sony Faith, I think they were called back then. Now I think they're called Sony Affirm. But I went in and I had 2-minute pitches all prepared for these finished screenplays I had. But again, they were just general market screenplays. And I the night before, I went out to dinner with some friends and practiced my pitches on them. And then I was really prepared for the meeting. And I got there and I pitched them these two that I think are just brilliant ideas for comedies. And they're like, we want a faith-based movie. Did you prepare for this meeting at all? It's Sony Faith. We want a movie about faith. What do you got? And so I'm like, well, I got this movie about a youth pastor in crisis. And I didn't even have the script finished, but they go, we want to see that. So I'm like, well, give me a week, because I didn't tell them it wasn't finished. But I took that week and I finished the script and sent it off to him. And there's a guy that he's still there at Sony Affirm, Josh Nadler, great guy. Josh called me up on the phone and gave me notes on the script. And he did this 5 times. So he gave me notes on 5 rewrites. And then at one point he said, what your screenplay needs right now to bring all the characters together is you need a big idea, something to bring them all together. I'm like, okay. So I started looking for a big idea. I didn't know what my big idea was going to be, but I'm like, I'll know it when I hear it. Well, a friend who's a church planter first church plant I was ever involved with, but he called me up and he goes, "You're not going to believe what this church is doing on Good Friday." I'm like, "What are they doing?" This is him. This is me. What are they doing? He goes, "They're crucifying a human being on Good Friday." There's no way. Like, yes, I'm looking at their social media page. And so we investigated, and it turned out to be false. He misunderstood their ad campaign. They were doing a passion play, but it was going to be really graphic. And so they were warning everyone about how graphic this passion play was going to be. But what I realized at that point is that so many churches in American evangelicalism, with all the best intentions, had done such crazy things to attract people to church that for a moment, my friend and I believed an American evangelical church would actually crucify someone on a Good Friday. And so right then I got my big idea.
Oh man.
And so that became the crux of the script for church people.
Well, it is, like I said, when I was introducing the trailer, there is something that's going to happen, and there it is that the church that he works for is going to crucify somebody. It was so, I was a youth pastor for 11 years at a large megachurch in Oklahoma. And there were some things that you were going through that I was like, oh, that's accurate. That's very, very, very accurate. So,
well, the movie it's a comedy and it's lighthearted, but we don't take the gospel lighthearted, because I think people sometimes have a misconception that if you're doing a comedy dealing with church, that then how can you take the message of Jesus seriously? And I think if people watch the movie, they'll see that we were able to do that. Because the second thing, it's a satire.
Yes.
Now, the thing about satire is that you can only satirize something that you love. And I love Jesus and I love the church. So when you satirize something you don't love, it comes across as mean.
Yeah.
And I think, you can testify from watching it that it doesn't come across as mean at all.
No, not at all. Not at all. In fact, it's hilarious. It's not. I never felt cringy at all. I just laughed I saw the humor through the whole thing. So
that's great. That's great.
What? Now, Christopher told me to ask you this too. How did you and Christopher meet?
So yes. So after I wrote the script, I've done like 30 some drafts of this screenplay, and that was before Wes Halula and I gave it a final rewrite for the shooting script. And there was one version in there by a gentleman named Bob Sands, but Wes Halula and I, Wes is a great guy and a good friend. We did the final shooting script together. But after my one of the drafts, I was just looking for filmmakers because I wanted to get it made. So I just started connecting with filmmakers on social media. And there was a guy on the Facebook who befriended me, Christopher Sean Shaw, and he started posting these little videos he made about his goldfish. So clearly he was single at the time, because he made videos of his goldfish for about a year. So you can tell how desperate and lonely his life was at that time. So but the film work was good. I'm watching a video of a guy talking to his goldfish. And so I contacted Christopher and said, tell me about your filmmaking background. And so that week he was just putting together a team for the 168 Film Festival and said, "Hey, you want to be a part of a film festival?" And I was like, it was local in Los Angeles. So I'm like, yeah. So we collaborated on our first short film called Skip Listening, which I actually have a feature-length script for now that we want to try to get produced someday. But people can actually see Skip Listening. I think if they just go to YouTube and put in Skip Listening Thor Ramsey, they should find that 10-minute film. And now we've probably done about a half dozen short films like that before we did Church People. So we've been working together for years now.
Wow.
before we collaborated on Church People. So we have a great working relationship.
It's great to have capitalized on his loneliness at home by himself.
Yeah. Well, he's married now.
Yeah, of
so-
course. And he told us
yeah.
that about his wife and
married
daughter and their dog, I think. So,
So
all right.
the goldfish died, put it that way. Yeah.
He replaced him with a dog. So, all right. So what kind of message do you think that this movie is going to resonate the most with the folks that are going to see it?
Well, I mean, and I always say this, like, I don't begin a screenplay or a novel or anything with what do I want to say. I always begin it with what's the story. And because it's like you have to tell a good story, because that's really what, whether you're writing a novel or doing a screenplay or writing a screenplay, it's about the story. And if you don't begin with the story, then the movie's going to feel like a sermon put to film. It's going to feel like an illustrated sermon, and that's what you don't want. Because if you're a Christian and you're working on a good story, your Christian worldview should come out.
Yeah.
Now, I tell people who want to be in filmmaking or any kind of the arts, you've got to get grounded theologically, my friend, because the arts tend to liberalize, and too many Christian artists, whether they're singers or filmmakers, tend to get a little loosey-goosey theologically, really because they weren't grounded theologically to begin with. So if you want a message in your movie, and every movie has a message, I don't care who you are, your movie has a message, whether you're a Christian or not. It's getting a good message, a message that's true or a message that's false, something. But Christian filmmakers need to be grounded theologically. And then if you work on the story, your worldview will come out. So I didn't begin this with what do I want to say. I began it with the story and what I wanted to satirize. Now, the subject is serious, though. It's in terms of there were two books that really informed me and helped the theme, I will say, of the movie, once I knew the theme. And I always plug those books because, again, if pastors want to, if you want to show the movie and then have some sort of deep discussion afterwards, these are great places to springboard from. But one book is by a gentleman named David F. Wells. It's called The Courage to be Protestant.
I'm writing it down.
Which deals with this idea that what you attract people with as a church is what you have to keep them with.
Good.
So if you attract people with a big show, like, hey, this Sunday we're giving away a Walkman, or what? I don't know if Walkmans exist anymore, but that's how old I am.
I was going to say, how old are you?
we're giving away a listening device, whatever it is. But then the next Sunday we're giving away a flat screen TV, and now we're giving away a car. The point is it has to keep growing. And now we're giving away, a vacation to Cancun, Mexico, and now we're you hit a glass ceiling.
Yeah.
And I think you've probably, if you've been part of a megachurch, and they do it with the best of intentions.
Sure.
Is the point. But the idea is, making Sunday a big positive show. We're doing a 4-week series. It's the best we've ever done. And then after that, we're doing a 4-week series. It's the best we've ever done. And then it's the best we've ever, it's always the best we've ever done. But after a while, people start to feel like they've hit a ceiling.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of churchgoers, now this is why I think the average evangelical changes churches every 7 years. Because they internally, they might not be able to verbalize it, but they sense that it just feels the same.
Yeah.
And they've been fed, in my opinion, they've been fed a false view of the Christian life in the church.
Sure.
Because part of it is, part of the point of the movie is, the people have not changed. And therefore, the message that they need for their lives, which is Jesus and his gospel, what he's done in his life, death, and resurrection, does not change. We don't need to dress that up with whistles and bells.
So good.
I mean, again, as a church planner, I get emails all the time about how are you going to communicate to Generation Z and Generation Millennial, and how you've got to change your communication style. This is a generation that's never been before. They're the most unique generation of all time. They're unlike any human beings. No, they're not. They're human beings. They've always been human beings. And you know what? They're sinners, and they need a savior.
Amen.
So the message doesn't change.
Yeah.
And our communication style as the church, we're dealing with the gospel. This is the greatest truths in the history of the world. And if you can't make that interesting, yeah, then it's time to consider other professions. But you don't need to dress that up with anything. And when you do dress it up, it actually can it can distract from the message.
Yeah.
And actually harm what you're trying to do.
I think you've done a great job of pointing that out in the film. And then the redemptive side of it at the end was amazing. It just brought everything right down to where people are, and that part of it was great. Now, this film has a huge cast as far as mainstream actors and actresses go.
Well, again, as you know, you want to, everyone has their own kind of view of filmmaking. Our view was that, the screenwriters, the directors, the producers were all believers. But we just wanted to put together the best cast we could. Some were believers, some weren't. But the message is there because, as a screenwriter and as the director and as a producer, you have the control over what the content is. The script, we ended up getting a great cast. Of course, it really started with Stephen Baldwin, who plays Chad, who is like the quintessential greeter. And that's all I really want to say about his kind of bizarre character.
Hilarious, though. Great casting.
Has a payoff that I think people will love. But so when Christopher and I, we've been making these short films together. After I finished one of the scripts of Youth Group, which became Church People, we called together a bunch of friends and acquaintances from the LA area who were filmmakers, camera people, and we had everyone donate their time for a day, and we shot a trailer for the film that didn't exist yet. So we shot a trailer for the film so we could show people, because it's different. Pitching a film verbally is different than, hey, let me show you the tone, the idea. Let me show you a trailer. If the film existed, this is kind of what it would feel like. And so we shot that trailer, and then Christopher, who is Mr. Social Media, just blasted it. He blasted it in such a way like, I'm embarrassed, Christopher. Pull back because I'm being embarrassed. You're embarrassing me now. But that's how Stephen Baldwin saw it. And then he called us up, had a phone meeting with us. Then he met us live, and we met him for about 3 hours one day at a hotel in Los Angeles. And he said, I'm going to get this film funded. And 2.5 years later, I'd like you to meet Mike Lindell, of my book. And he's going to fund the movie. But it started with Stephen. And then once it was funded, because people say, how'd you get such a great cast? Like, well, once your film is funded, you can get all kinds of people interested in your movie. It's no business. People, it's like if they're going to pay people, they're interested. But, so we have Stephen Baldwin, and then Joey Fatone, who was in My Big Fat Greek Wedding, was really his first foray into acting. Before that, he was in NSYNC with Justin Timberlake for years.
Sure.
So known as a singer, but man, he's a great comedic actor. He really is. And then Joey Fatone.
Donald Faison. Yep.
Donald Faison, who was in Scrubs.
Love him.
For years, if you're familiar with the sitcom Scrubs. And then Michael Monks, of course, who played Pastor Skip, who was my acting coach during the filming. So that I couldn't have got through this without Michael Monks. I'm telling you, I have I don't know if it's a new respect, but I have a deep respect for actors now because it's way harder than I anticipated. I can say that. And then we have William Baldwin and his wife China Phillips in the film,
and they kill. They just absolutely kill. That was brilliant. All of those folks just really made it even more special. The message alone was great, but then when you start putting those familiar faces in there, my wife immediately recognized Pastor Skip. She goes, he's been on Friends. so
that's funny.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Okay, so it opens this weekend, select theaters. You want to go see it, folks. We're going to put some information up on the screen. Go see the movie. It's going to be I think it's Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. churchpeoplefilm.com. You can see it on Facebook, or you can get in touch with them on Facebook. I know Christopher was really big on sharing the trailers and things like that off of Facebook. So it's at Church People Movie. Go by and give it a like and share. The other
thing I would tell people is that if you go to churchpeoplefilm.com and sign up there with your email, if it's, and it depends on what area you're in, because I know with the lockdown, like I know what theaters it would be in here because it's advertised, but the theater's not open because it's California. So it depends on what area you're in. But if you can't go see it at the theater, sign up there and they'll let you know as soon as it's available in other formats and other areas where you can see it, or in other formats where you can see it.
If you want to see more good films like this, you got to support the ones that are out there, and we are 100% behind you. It's a great film, and you did a great job.
Appreciate it.
All right, folks, this is Thor Ramsey, and he is the writer, creator, star of Church People, and we could not be happier to be a little part of the publicity of this movie, because it's just a great job. Thanks so much for your time today. Have a great rest of your day.
Thanks a lot for having me.
All right. That's Thor Ramsey, and now let's stop for directions. Whenever you think about a hilarious movie like this, you're grateful to see such quality come out with famous people attached to it. But at the same time, this movie covers where we as believers are supposed to place our hope. And the hope for the characters in the movie is the same for the hope like us. As great as the cast is, this movie is also just another vehicle for the message. What message is that? In Romans chapter 5, verse number 8, we see it in a snapshot. It is, in our sinfulness, we deserved death, hell, and the grave. And yet, while we were yet sinners, Christ died for us. Then 2 Corinthians chapter 5, verse 21 says, for our sake, he made him to be sin who knew no sin, so that in him we might become the righteousness of God. That's the message. So remember, keep your faith in the Savior. The meaning, the value, and the purpose that you're looking for are all tied to him. Cultivate your walk with God. Keep your faith in Jesus, and not just on the answer that you're looking for. That is where peace abides. That is a great thing to keep in mind as you walk out and see this movie this weekend. As great as that is, it is just giving you another version of the message of a Savior who came and died for you. That's going to wrap it up for the show today. I'm so grateful to Jody and Preston for doing a great job over there at the tech booth. Big thanks and prayers to Thor Ramsey and the cast of Church People the movie. It premieres this Saturday, Sunday, and Monday through Fathom Events at a theater near you. Please go see this film. It's really good. Until next time, I hope you found what you were looking for as you took the time today to expand your search and stop for directions. Have a great day, everybody.
Thanks for joining us today. Connect with us on @expandingyoursearch on Facebook and Instagram, and @expandingsearch on Twitter. Relive any of our episodes on YouTube. We are available wherever podcasts are found, including Spotify, iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, and Google Podcasts. You can also download the Direction Ministries app on iOS, Android, Apple TV, Roku, and Amazon Fire. Take some time today to expand your search and stop for directions.